Investigators are still hashing out details in the latest Texas bombing near San Antonio. The blast inside that FedEx warehouse was the 5th in Central Texas this month alone. The FBI just saying they do not know if the bombings are linked. Joining us now, Bob Bianchi, criminal defense attorney, former head county prosecutor and trial attorney, also Mercedes Colwin, criminal defense attorney and Fox News legal analyst. Obviously, Bob, they are holding this information very close to the vest. I almost wondered why they even held that news conference, because it didn't seem to be helpful. It almost seemed counterproductive, because the community in Austin, Texas is scared to death.
Yes.
There are elderly people and children and women and men who are afraid to leave their homes. Couldn't law enforcement have given them maybe a little bit more reassurance?
Julie, you hit it right on the head. When I was watching that news conference, having given many myself, there is a purpose to do them and a purpose not to do them. To have a scrum of chief law enforcement officers just get up there and give you no data only exacerbates the problem. What I would like to have seen them do is what we have done in similar cases where bombings or there's a danger to the communities, instruct them how to target harden themselves, because they want to know, how does this not happen to me? And there are ways with bombing cases that they could have instructed the community. I would feel that that would be a much better use of their time. You
know, it's interesting when you try to piece all the pieces of the puzzle together. They say that there's no exact link, which is surprising, because it seems it's pretty positive that there's got to be some kind of link. I mean, they've all been packages randomly left at doorsteps. The most recent used a tripwire. They were all mailed within the Austin area. This was going from Austin to Austin, and it prematurely detonated in San Antonio. Why aren't they releasing more information? Is there a reason why they do that?
It's a great question. I think part of it is that they don't want to give information out there that can possibly mess up the entire investigation. They want to net this type of information. They want to go out there and say, is there any link? To go as broad as possible. But if they're getting clues out there into the public, it could manipulate the real wrongdoer to try to evade detection. So that's probably what's going on.
All right, another thing that happens with that, Julie, is that witnesses start to parrot what they're hearing in the news, which is problematic when you're doing an interview with them.
Okay, we're going to be back with more on this because we have to take a quick break, and then I'll come back to you both. So many questions to be answered. We'll be right back. I'm rejoined now by Bob Bianchi and Mercedes Colwin. Mercedes, we just got information, in fact, that there was indeed a 6th package, apparently, that they discovered that did not detonate. So that package is going to be crucial evidence for the feds and local police to dive into and try to get some answers.
Exactly right. I mean, they have to look, are there any similarities between the two? The 5th one had that tripwire, so that really spooked the community. Like, wait a minute, now it's random. Before it was the package here, package there, package at the doorstep, but now you're talking about tripwire. So there have to look some similarities. They have to start connecting the dots. Without any of those similarities, without those connections, we're really at a loss of where we are.
Yeah, well, speaking at a loss, as far as being at a loss, the investigators seem to be at a loss when it comes to evidence. Or maybe they're not. But it's interesting because the San Antonio Fire Department first tweeted about this at, like, say, 5:15 in the morning. And they mentioned that shrapnel was actually packed into this explosive. But if you noticed, when the ATF and FBI appeared in that news conference, they did not say they could confirm whether indeed these packages confirmed to have shrapnel in them. It seems they all have shrapnel. Where do you take that information and go from there?
Well, I think that the law enforcement is going to be much more cautious in terms of making definitive statements, because you don't want to have to go back with them. But, of course, they're going to be looking at the similarity of the materials of the bomb, trying to find out where those materials came from. There's a lot of activity that they're doing right now in an incident command structure format. So all these things are going to be, but it seems to be connected, and the Attorney General basically said the same. Now, the bomber could maybe mix up the materials and do things different in order to make it look like it's somebody else. But these are pretty sophisticated devices based on what we're learning right now, Julie.
Yeah, any kind of bomb. First of all, bomb making is so easy. So you can't assume that this is an experienced bomb maker, because anybody can go on the internet, unfortunately, and put these together. When you pack shrapnel into an explosive, your idea is to not only kill, but to maim and to injure. I mean, that is the most vicious type of attack. You know, what does this person, once they are caught, and they will be, it could be one, it could be more, face when it comes to prosecution? This is a terror attack.
Oh, sure. And look, there are 2 lives that have been lost. So we're talking 25 to life to begin with. And then you start to have these consecutive, concurrent or consecutive sentences. This person, when caught, when talking about how many people have been injured, people that have died, we're talking life imprisonment.
We're talking death penalty, I hope.
Well, you're also looking at federal and state crimes. And so if they want to aggressively go at it, they're going to go at it with both areas. Texas is a death penalty state.
Right, of course.
There are federal death penalties if, in fact, it could be connected to terrorism. So the bottom line to that question is, if they catch the person or persons that did this, you can expect that at a minimum they're going to be going away for the rest of their life, if not the death penalty.
Why haven't we heard anyone call this terrorism? Because that is what, it is terrorism. It's domestic terrorism.
Right.
Why haven't we heard anybody even utter that word?
I think it's what you said, Bob. They're being so overly cautious. They don't want to label it just yet, but frankly, lives are at stake.
Correct.
Someone has to
Call
say
it like you see it. This is terrorism. There's no need for politics.
Well, prosecutors also have to worry about
go.
making sure that they don't jump to conclusions, and that gives the defense an argument down the road.
Sure. Okay. All right, Bob Bianchi, Mercedes Colwin, great to see you both. Thank you so much. Of course, the story continues to develop, and we'll have it for you. We'll be watching it here on Fox.